So first started kind of blogging, first started my own little, web design ventures. And that first venture that
Same.
really pushed hard.
Mine was named One Point Internet Solutions.
Cyber fixation. That was,
Oh, I can't wait until the Netflix Geniuslink documentary movie comes out.
but I'm an entrepreneur. I like to, drive and grind. That's just, it's important for me.
I'm sending a cake. I'm sending a big fat Geniuslink cake.
I got some more stories, but I'm not sure where the NDA expires on some of those. Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
How you doing?
I've seen this setup before when we're talking about honey, right?
Yeah. That honey one was the first time we brought in this YouTuber, and she got me a studio set up, and I'm still trying to figure out how to use it. So,
I love it. I love that video. Like I didn't even want to see the honey video. I just
turns out the outtakes got more views than the surprise.
That's great. That's maybe that's a marketing tactic, is just feel like you want to put a really serious video out and then just take a long time and take all the B-roll and put that out.
Exactly. I got these damn lights that are super bright in my face. No, I don't want that. I want,
There you go.
maybe I do want that, but then
I don't know. What are they? I've got two Elgato key lights, and
Yeah,
you
exactly.
do have to spend forever, like just making sure that I can get in here.
It's too many controls for me.
No, I have this. Wait, I had the same thing, but I have it on my computer, and I'm like, oh, I could be really dark, or I could be really warm and tan. Like, oh yeah, there we go. But just get real. Well, yeah, a lot of color. I just came back from the coast.
Exactly. But living in Seattle, there's no such thing as color here.
How you been? Oh wait, I just lost it. I think it came undone. What do we think? No, no. If you have like some notebook paper that you could draw on and like hold it up, we could sort of do like oh yeah, totally. What's the Christmas movie where he's got the cards, right? And he's like, we do an interview like that. No, not Say Anything. What am I thinking of? Yeah, I can't remember. Love Actually. That was it. When you were moving it earlier, I heard something sort of like get disconnected. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
better?
dig it. That's it.
Yeah. We're good. Okay.
Great. So I think what we're gonna do is this is the trailer for the episode. I think
Right. Exactly.
this part is the trailer for the episode. And then if people want the meat and the content, then they have to come listen.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you've played this game. Okay. Are we good? Should I stop fucking with stuff? Okay. You ready to have that actual conversation instead of Kyle? How are you?
You know what I think we should do? I think we should do 55 more minutes. I think we should mess with all our fun tech gear and stuff like that, and then we should just call it. Like that's the
What's
episode.
the point of having gear if you can't play with it, right? Just having it work is so boring.
Oh no, totally. I have way too much, by the way. My wife's always like, some box arrives and she's like, I'm not even gonna ask. I'm sure it's something you'll use for a little while and then you'll end up selling it on Mercari and then you'll end up getting something else. And like I've had like 5
What's Mercari?
pros like that. Mercari's great. It's like the Facebook Marketplace alternative. Like I'll give you a good example. This is my favorite. Well, not my favorite. This is the hotspot I use, the AT&T
Okay.
Netgear. But it's terrible because it takes like 50 years to like boot up and it has no battery life. So anyways, I just went yesterday and got that Nighthawk M7 Pro, which is great.
Okay.
And it's super, super fast. 300 megs a second is like
That's
what I was getting
amazing.
on this. So what I do is I reset this one to factory and I stick it on Mercari for $160 and already like 2 or 3 people are like, tell me about the thing and where can you... I stick it in a box for $8 and then they buy it and I get the cash.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mercari?
Okay. Yeah, because I kind of
need a
hate
sponsor here
Facebook.
for this Mercari.
Yep, there's our ad insert.
That's good. Brought to you by Geniuslink.
Brought to you by Ricari.
There you go. Yeah, it's good.
How you
It's
been?
good because oh man, it's like a crazy roller coaster. It's like a crazy. It's amazing. It's so, but but I love it. I mean,
Good.
there's no way I can possibly do all the things, and I only wish that I had 48 hours in a day, but but it's so fun because then I just wake up and like I'm just so anxious to like get going again, and then and then just like crank and see stuff moving and happening, and we onboarded new people to the team today, and like it's crazy. I love it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm addicted to short feedback loops, right? And I think that's exactly what you're describing. It's like I can work my ass off and I see the results so much quicker. Where, back in the old corporate gig, it would take forever to see that work actually be realized. So yeah, short
Oh
feedback
my
loops. I
gosh.
hear you.
I love it. We literally, so Lazar, our mobile development lead, when was this? Was this Tuesday or Monday? I think was like, oh, I built in this QR scanner so that basically you hit any QR and you just save it as a stackless card. I was like Monday or Tuesday, I think. I was like, it's amazing. We should ship it, and we're waiting for Apple to approve it right now.
That's amazing.
Like 3 days later, we're like, get this shit out of here. Let's see what people think. I love it. So
Awesome.
so
Happy to
good.
hear.
Well, so last time, you and I were hanging out, we ate, I don't remember what the name of the place is. I think I saved it as a stackless card,
It was
but I
tasty
do
as
remember
TAF.
that it totally was. It was taste. I'm gonna have to find it again. So it was Gary V's place, and
That's
I'm
right.
gonna link to the card and the stackless notes. But like, it was Gary V's place, and it looked like an old sort of 50s diner, 50s, 60s diner. And I remember we were sitting there looking at the menu, being like, I don't know, just a couple of all the things. I think I ordered my same thing. Was it risotto? I think I ordered mine twice. I got two servings. It
And
was so good.
I think I had the same thing and it was incredibly good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Amazing. Well, I'm super excited to hear about like I've been a fan of Geniuslink for a while, but obviously as we started Stacklist, and I think you were one of the first people that when it started to actually become a thing that wasn't just this like raggedy prototype that I only had on my desktop locally. Once it started to become a thing, I think you were one of the first people I reached out to, and I was like, okay, I'm building this thing, and it's powered by links, and links, and we should talk. So I think you've been on this journey probably longer than any other partner or collaborator than anybody else. So I appreciate
Well,
that.
been on this road for a while, but yeah, on your journey, yeah,
Mhm.
it's incredible how quickly you've been moving though. Like every update, things are happening very quick. So
It-
I'm super impressed with how you've been able to pull that off. So nice work.
Cool. Well, I appreciate it. Well, I'm super impressed with how Genius Link has just like dominated in the affiliate linking and
Slow
attribution space.
and steady.
But just like just get it. So great. I think, but before we dive in, I think one of the things I want to do is what leads up to that. So I'm super
Sure.
interested going back, previous to Genius Link, which I know
Mm,
had a different name in its early
yeah,
incarnation, but sort of. I think even going back before business, do you have anything? Do you feel like either upbringing, family, mindset, personality? Do you have anything that you feel like was sort of baked into who you are that sort of led towards this entrepreneurial path?
absolutely. Right. It's that classic, looking forward, it's hard to see, but you look back and it's an incredibly straight line of these different data points. I really think it started with my mom being an entrepreneur and my dad working in a newspaper. So, kid of the 80s, right? I was born in 81. So computers, watched kind of this evolution. My dad was, again, a reporter at this newspaper, and he was, relatively far away from the city. So he had his own machine. He would, do his own stories. I was allowed to play games occasionally. And that really kind of helped develop that love for computers. But then, one of, I think it was like a Christmas present one year, we were allowed like 10 hours of AOL because we lived out kind of in the boonies. And that was a big deal because that was like long distance phone call time. And that was
I
just
can
like,
hear that startup sound in my head,
exactly.
like
I used to be able to whistle it. Um, so yeah, like the technology piece was super fun to watch, right? Exactly that dialing in, you get excited. It's a whole brand new world you could explore. So really enjoyed computers at first, and then the internet more in particular, kind of as that technology evolved. On the flip side, my mom is an entrepreneur, kind of, it was really fun watching her, how it would work, right? You own all the process and you're doing different things all the time, how it all comes together. And I would go with her. She was a craft person. She made futons and pillows or whatever. But I go with her to these art fairs and I would help her sell. It was really cool to sell something that I knew I watched her build, and then like put the cash in like our little, wallet thing. And then just that transaction of being able to earn money was definitely pretty powerful. So I think
Nice.
that was, kind of the very early days, but, it continues to, expand piece by piece, right? High school, I graduated in 99. It was kind of, .com was starting to blow up, get to college, learn a few things. And then just seeing the .com crash through some of my, different classmates and professors. I'd written a business plan that was very much, focused on the internet. I'd done a little side gig. So that was kind of like that next piece, right? That kind of led to this whole, where we are today. So first started kind of blogging, first started my own little, web design and ventures. And that first venture that
Same.
really pushed hard.
My,
Yeah,
One
exactly.
Point
You
Internet
recognize this.
Solutions. Mine was named One Point Internet Solutions.
I love it. I love it.
It was that
We
very
were
2000-y kind of name, you know?
cyber fixation. That was, it's
Oh,
got,
yours
kind of
is
a
better.
porn
Yeah,
head.
that's
Nah,
great.
well, yeah, a little bit of a dull kind of, it was not intended as, a 17, 18-year-old kid. Maybe it was subconsciously, but
30% of the traffic that came to the website was not what they thought they were going for. But hey,
you're
it
going to
worked.
build a website. I was looking for a website. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Um,
That's so
but
great.
yeah, that evolved into this other big project called Nifty Tricks, which was like kind of that first little bit of learning the hard side of, not building websites or whatever, but ad dollars disappearing overnight. And that was really kind of the whole introduction to affiliate, which is another bit of the story. But that was kind of the core foundation where, well, the first, I guess, third of the story of where it all kind of comes from. So I'll take a breath there. But yeah, it sounds like you had very
Nice.
similar upbringings of, diving in, being so excited to have some online time, the lessons that, yeah. Remember GeoCities? Remember building
Oh
your
yeah.
first
Oh, totally.
websites? And
I was so my first were I was building BBSs on like 56K, trying to
yeah.
shotgun 56K modems and doing like was it Panther or Tiger BBS? Like there was one of those that like you could stand them up and you would try and invite people in. It almost feels like Circle or Mighty Networks or whatever is sort of the evolution of the BBS where you sort of stand it up, you've got some rooms and you invite people in. But I feel like you and I are very much of what I refer to as the Nintendo generation because it is
Mhm.
so specifically different for the people that grew up either Atari 2600 and or right in that like Nintendo just sort of dominated that
Yeah.
piece that we were bringing computers into our home. It started with the Nintendo and the
Yeah.
NES, and then it sort of went to Sega and and things like that. But then at the same time, you had I think for me it was the IBM PS2 was like the
Mhm.
first sort of like you went to Office Depot and you bought one and it came in a couple of boxes and you came home and you put it together like it was a whole thing and
Yeah.
then you had CompuServe. I think I almost feel like anybody that grew up right around our time in that like really late 70s or early 80s are wired differently because of that. Like it just started right then in the
Mhm.
beginning of the 80s and it and you're almost wired different because you grew up with that.
Absolutely. And it's again, back to those roots, right? It's we are who we are because of the past and choices we took in those early formative years. So completely agree with you.
Totally. And you had web hosting, right? You were in and around did you do web
Y-
hosting?
Yeah. So fast forward a couple years, right? So built a website. Yeah, this Nifty Tricks thing. The ad dollars were not what I forecasted. Was kind of forced into affiliate. That kind of sat there for a little bit. But a couple roommates and I, yeah, we spun up a web hosting company, Ion Solutions. And that was
Nice.
an interesting endeavor. That was kind of our last few years of college, and it was interesting. So we had all these different ideas. We're all kind of entrepreneurs that most of us lived in the same house. It's like, we should just do the same stuff together and run with it. So that was really kind of that first foray into working with friends, working the kind of side hustle at college, etc. It never really became big, but it was enough of a validation that if you focus and you work together and you kind of align some paths, you can actually build something. And college kids, we were competing against businesses in town, and we were getting customers, not a ton, but we were getting customers. And that was really gratifying.
That's amazing. I was at Airland right around
Okay.
that time, and
Okay.
so yeah, I saw that. I was selling Cobalt rack servers like
Ha
around that time. But what's really interesting about what you did there is to the point where you were like, oh, it didn't really sort of keep going. But there's such an interesting thing. I liken it to taking like the shrink wrap off a brand new product. You know what I mean? You take
Yeah.
that like film off and you're like, I'm ready to use this. You scrape off all that, like, I take time, effort, and money, and I put it into a thing, and even if it doesn't work, I come away with, like, "Okay, the next time I do this, these 8 things, way faster." Like, I know
Yeah.
exactly what
Yeah.
to do, what not to do, like, I just sort of, like I work through all that, like, briar and bramble, and so then the
Hmm.
second time you do it, you're, like, way faster at it.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's, I think, those iterations, right? You learn, you can build faster. That the snowball rolls faster, gets bigger with each time you do it.
Nice. What'd you do? So what you shut that one down, what did that lead into?
So I actually I bailed out. My buddies kept pushing it for quite a while, and it was a thing. My co-founder today, he was one of the partners that sorry, my roommate back in college.
Oh,
He held
nice.
on to it for a long time, and did a little here and there, and just ultimately became a bit of a headache. But we as Geniuslink, or it was GeoRiot before, bought slash inherited slash kind of acquired a lot of that hardware. So one of our early things, we've been doing this for what, 13 years, but because of his background in infrastructure and networking, and he writes code, but he loves the networking as well. We had our own server racks. And we would, this place, I live in Seattle, right? We've got, this colo we would go to, and, you'd get the occasional, ping in the middle of the night that a hard drive went down. And, the next day we'd go and swap it out and buy another, server to make sure there wasn't a big issue next time, blah, 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 blah. So there was, in the early days, it was really interesting having both software and hardware because, cloud was just starting to pick up. It was kind of, expecting to go with, some other solution, but we were able to keep costs significantly lower than our peers because he knew how to manage that. And I was just the guy that would be freezing my ass off at the colo, holding a screwdriver in pieces as was fixing stuff.
That's amazing. Yeah, there's nothing like standing in a co-location like with servers around. There's something really oddly satisfying about like having all
Oh,
these
exactly.
machines humming, and you just know that there's like so much information being sent, and we don't really get that right now because everything's just up in the cloud or whatever, and you don't really feel that. But like it's so interesting being in one of those servers. I think
Yeah.
it's interesting though. So really, even from that first web hosting and then into the sort of first iteration of Genius Link, you really have sort of continued this same thread and had partners along that whole way, right?
Yeah. Yes and no. Right. So I told you kind of the first third of the story, and we jumped to like the last beginning of the third of the story. There's a whole section there as well. I graduate college, and I was a whitewater rafting guide bum. I was bouncing between Colorado and Costa Rica. I had spent my fall and spring working on these web projects, these geek projects, and that was kind of more of kind of building that thread. And that was a lot of kind of solo projects. And the soundtrack websites were kind of the first ones that really kind of took off and were really interesting. So I take, every year Warren Miller comes out with a new film of, 50 some odd songs, lists those out with links to iTunes and Amazon. And it was, again, kind of, it was fun to finally build something pretty much completely by myself from the ground up that could actually it made some money, not a ton of money, but would definitely buy me a season pass and some gear. Not that I used the season pass because often in Costa Rica, but it kind of worked out well. So there was definitely a period of solopreneur as well, but a lot of that solopreneur, I would need something. And I'd go back to, his name's Jesse as well, but, go back to the other Jesse and just, hey, can you build this for me real quick? And I'd go back to, kind of building on my own. But just realize that, we'd know this for a while. We'd been best friends forever, but just like we work really well together. Why, what's going on here? So it was,
Nice.
kind of taking a soundtrack website that after a few years had this hockey stick growth in traffic and real flat revenue that I realized just something's going on. So the aha moment was when I realized that, the links I was putting, these affiliate links I was putting on the website, people around the world were clicking on them because they love music and skiing and snowboarding or whatever. But because they were pointing to Amazon.com and the US iTunes store, all these international people were serving up broken links. So that was the moment there's like, okay, there's a much bigger technological side of this where there needs to be a partner. So yeah, started off, good friend doing stuff with friends, etc. Solopreneur period. And then, kind of big realization, everything came together. I need a technical co-founders to help with this. There's more to that story as well. We'll get to in a minute.
Well, I'd be interested also, like week before, day before, day of, like right in that when you realize it's the hockey stick, that it's the thing behind the links, it's all about the links, like right around that period. What was the first move to sort of really start into Geniuslink from a like this is the thing, this is the focus.
Yeah. Yeah. So great question. I, again, living that bum lifestyle, I work on these projects. It was super fun, but it was just really kind of that a realization there's more technology that needs to happen. There's more opportunity that's here. There's really this fundamental gap of what could and should be done. And that was just realizing that this had been kind of a passion, a hobby. It didn't need to be crazy because I was, my raft guiding was paying the bills. But that was kind of part of the whole thing of no, there's more here. This roles can flip flop. Rafting can be the passion. This could actually be something that pays the bills. But it took a while. It took honestly about a year from that aha until something actually came together. The classic, you're working with an engineer. I told him what the problem is. He's like, yeah, I could fix it. It's like, okay, awesome. Go do it. It's like, no, you got to write me the requirement stock. You got to tell me everything I need to know. I'm not going to go figure that stuff out. No, I write code. You go PM it. Get the details. So that sent me down this rabbit hole of just kind of figuring out, oh, okay, that's how it works. And about the same time as I'm going down this rabbit hole, another friend that had just published a book for someone else he was working with, and he was telling me this crazy story about book publishing. And hey, you know a lot about this one thing because you had to get all these details. Why don't you write a book about that? And that was a really interesting idea. So, okay, well, I've got all the notes that Jesse needs to do it. Why don't I spend that? I met a girl and I wasn't planning on going back to Costa Rica that year. So I stuck around Colorado and snowboarded a ton, worked on the website and wrote a book. And this book was really kind of, I've always enjoyed organizing information, right? I don't know why that is, but I'm not super organized in general, but like information wise, I'm pretty good about keeping those things in the right place. So it just felt right to kind of be putting these pieces together. Maybe it was my dad, again, being an author or a writer for the newspaper. So it came out of it with like this, something I was pretty proud of, 160 pages, 60,000 words of just how it was called Mastering the iTunes Affiliate Program, how to kick ass selling books, music, and something else.
Nice, I love it.
So yeah, I was really proud of it. And just as I was about ready to kind of ship it off and actually, see the financial side of it, I sent a copy to Apple just saying, I love your affiliate program. You got shit for documentation. I kind of solved that problem for you. I think you'll appreciate this. Classic Apple. They sent back a cease and desist. They were going to sue me if I was actually going to publish this book. So that was a bit of a, piss your pants moment. But I hopped on the phone with this woman, got screamed at for a bit, pushed back, asked her to actually, read the book. She came back a few weeks later and that was a pretty pivotal time. And I moved from being a raft guide bum to trading my flip-flops for a cubicle and commute in Cupertino. They hired me on to become the global program manager of the iTunes affiliate program. So some random dude using it to actually leading the charge there was kind of a huge thing. But I've been, always an Apple fanboy. You talked about the IBM PC a moment ago. My dad worked in the newspaper, always brought home Macs or Apples as well. So I've kind of, been drinking that Kool-Aid for quite some time. So this was a dream come true. And it was, awesome to work on this affiliate program that I knew a lot about from this one perspective, but to actually see how the sausage was made was just incredible. It was really, really great experience. Apple, think of them what you want, but after having worked with a bunch of raft guides that have huge hearts, but they're not usually the sharpest tools in the shed, to go and work with some incredibly brilliant people was just mind blowing. So it was quite the experience. But it was 2 years of Apple that really kind of helped me recognize that what originally was that idea that, okay, there's something here, to realize, oh man, this is a serious problem. And Apple's kind of sweeping on the rug. Amazon is making this problem worse. There's a lot of different ecosystems that have what we call this geofragmentation problem. So yeah, it was a bit of a journey between that idea to actually realizing that something needed to happen, and it took some time, took some zigs and zags.
I can't wait until the Netflix Geniuslink documentary movie comes out, and I see this one clip of, I'm imagining in my mind it's shot very much like Pirates of Silicon Valley, and you're like, sending this off to Apple, and they're like, and they're sending you stuff, and all their lawyers in their 80 suits are like waving their finger at you, you know what I mean, or whatever, and then cut to you walking through the campus, and that's amazing. I love that.
It
That's such
was
a good story.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
thank you. It was crazy. It was an amazing time, but it wasn't me. It was this woman that took the time to read a book about someone they'd never even heard of and see the vision of a very unpolished, shaggy raft guide, her giving me a chance. And she was an amazing mentor, but yeah, yeah, I had a very interesting resume, but it was her that took the chance and gave me the opportunity and power, and just, set me on this crazy way. So yeah, I got lucky, but it was, yeah, I have a lot of thankfulness, love, respect for Yvonne Nava.
That's amazing. Well, Yvonne, yeah, I love those moments, by the way, just to call this out. And obviously with what we're doing, I've had a lot of these recently, or at least I've identified them, and I try hard to sort of like get better at this. But Martina and I call it peeling the onion, but it's one of those things where you start to give an idea to someone and they're like, either that's been done before, or that's not really a big problem, whatever it is. And then you start to, like, as you talk about it, there's this moment that some people have, and some are faster than others, but you start to see the layers of the onion peel back, and then there's like this light bulb goes like, oh wait, but oh, oh no, and then they start like just like running, 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 and you're like, great, like your onion has been peeled. You get it, you see it, like, okay, we're on the same path. And so cool that, essentially what she started from was, I see this thing, I see it at the surface level, I take it with my current understanding of how things are, and you should not do this. But it took her sort of having the whatever that inspiration was to read the book and to sort of get her onion peeled to where she was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is a thing, and you have found a thing, and you should come help fix this thing." I love that. That's a great moment. Um, Cool. So I mean, that's so neat that also, I love the idea that you saw this, and even being at Apple, it's not like something. I think some people think that if you have an idea, like if you don't do it today, somebody's going to take that idea and then it's all done. But for you to go to Apple and do 2 years and still see it as such a big thing, and also something that wasn't just going to get solved, overnight or in a year or whatever it is, that, it was this thing that was only likely going to get worse. That to be able to come back to it after a couple of years of Apple is awesome.
It was, yeah. I mean, I stood on that soapbox and waved to everyone that would listen. Just, yeah, you have this problem. It's, yeah, but it's not $1 billion problem. Our engineers need to solve $1 billion. Well, that's pretty crazy. Okay, well, I think it's a big problem. I don't know if it's $1 billion problem, but yeah. So it was really interesting, kind of learning. And you hear the expression, don't trip over 10,000 in search of a million, right? And it's like, as a ref guy, 10,000 was a year's wage, right? Like,
Right.
this is so, yeah. It was crazy, but it was a fun journey. I'm really thankful for that opportunity to spend some time in a corporate place that I love to respect, and just the lessons you can learn, right? You spend as much time as you want in college or in a textbook, but just these massive corporations that are super successful, there's a reason behind it. And it's not words on a page. It's, the feelings, the emotions, the lessons that are between the seams, between you got to read between the letters to really kind of pick up on what makes it tick. But once you do, it's so incredibly obvious. So anyway, I really
Yeah.
appreciate my Apple time. I'm still very much an Apple fanboy.
But yeah, I am too. I every now and then, every couple of years, I end up selling my MacBook, and I go get a really powerful PC, and I sort of like try the ecosystem on the other side or whatever. And usually it takes about a week and a half, maybe 2, and then I sell all of that, like back to the Apple
Oh,
store. I just
here, well, no, hold on, here,
get it all
this is another
again.
opportunity for your ad insert for Mercurial, right?
That's right. Totally. Yeah, sell it all again and start over again. But I think interested to like, so what was the end of that 2 years, and what was the beginning of what we'll call sort of like Genius Link proper? Was that right after Apple?
Yeah, exactly. So again, had this amazing manager and just it was like my second year review. It's like, thank you. You're incredibly generous. These are amazing things you've opened up for me, but I'm not truly happy here. Like I'm the feedback loops were too slow. Like I was doing incredible projects, doing incredible work. Like I was making a real difference, but just it wasn't truly who I was. And it took me a while to figure that out. There was a lot of, shiny lights and massive paychecks that were really made things comfortable. But I'm I'm not a hustler is probably not the right term, but I'm an entrepreneur. I like to, drive and grind. That's just, yeah, it's important for me. So
Well,
yeah,
it's a learner's mindset also, and I have the same affliction. I've been at such great companies, and it usually takes right at about 2 years, and it's always like, oh, you can make partner, you can make managing director, or whatever, and I kind of go like, ugh, I don't know that I want that. Like, what I want is to go like pivot and build something else, or like oh, this is reconnecting. Oh, there we go. Oh, it said
uh,
reconnecting, but like. Uh, but I need to like I need to push on something and build something, and then I need to pivot and do it again and do it again. If I'm doing that, I'm challenging myself, but I'm also like
yeah.
I'm incrementally building things. And if it literally is just keep what you're doing and let's talk in a year and we'll see if we can give you a little something. That's okay. I'm not interested. So that's funny. I feel like we're cut from the same cloth there, because you would
Yeah,
imagine a
exactly.
lot of people. You're at Apple. Like, why would you leave? You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
what? That's amazing.
It was my dream job. Yeah, I got really lucky to get there relatively quickly, but yeah, it was absolutely my dream job. So, but yeah, just we came up with a phase out period with my boss. My wife was at Apple as well. She was my girlfriend in Colorado, and she moved out with me, and she was able to do price availability at iTunes, so understood the Apple ecosystem from a different perspective, and she just wasn't happy with her manager at all. So she had left a little bit earlier, and she was kind of our first real time push on this, and just saw an opportunity. So said goodbye to my boss. We had this phase out period. Her and I moved to the East Coast. Her parents had a beach house. So we went to the East Coast beach house during the winter, where it was a completely desolate town, and just put our heads down. And it was kind of our mini incubator. We, first year we didn't pay ourselves. The other part of the other Jesse, he's still at Microsoft at this point. But he's doing, double duty nights and weekends, helping us out. And after a year, we kind of got the signal that there's something there. This is real. So he left his job. We start paying ourselves, and her and I moved to Seattle, where the other Jesse's at. And yeah, 2013, we hit it full time. We hit it full time hard, and it's been a wild ride. Lots of stories in there as well.
That's amazing. And you're going to be coming up on the big 1-5.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. I
Amazing.
think
Well,
technically the birthday is in
kudos.
March for the company, but yeah, exactly. It's
Well, I'm sending a cake. I'm sending a big fat Genius Link cake.
yeah. Oh, well,
Ouch. Oh, my head.
all right. What's up with that? There's
Oh, it's part of the trailer. It's part of the trailer.
yeah. Okay,
I
that screw
love it.
needs to be sorry, man.
No, it's so good.
Okay, am I straight? We have
Wait,
to rebalance.
t- right there.
Okay.
Don't
Okay.
move.
Yeah,
All right,
don't
great.
touch the desk.
uh Amazing. So you go heads down incubation. All right, this is like we're doing a thing, and obviously you've had a little bit in the past, from
Mhm.
hosting, and you had some foundation. What did it feel like in that early sort of like, like day one? You're like, okay, let's get
Oh,
pencil and piece of paper. Like, you start sort of drawing up like goals. Like, what was the first sort of month of that?
so it goes back to those feedback loops, right? Again, something I loved early on was the short feedback loops. The time at Apple, again, the corporate gig, very slow feedback loops, but just it was a drug, right? You're so excited to wake up in the morning and go do something, and tomorrow or the next day you see the results, and that just that feedback loop is so tight, and that flywheel just starts spinning and spinning and spinning. It just again, it felt like an addict. I had to keep building and had to keep going because the dopamine hits were just so incredible, and it was a legit problem. We found product market fit, I think, really quickly, and it's just how do we scale it? Who are the right people to talk to? Et cetera. How do we chart this? How do we market this? How do we educate people to this really obscure problem? And those were all very challenging things that were super fun to solve. At the same time, girlfriend, fiance, we were gonna get married that year as well. So it was nice to have some distractions to, try to take myself out of it. And, having your fiance at this point also be your co-founder, it was a constant, where do we draw the lines between when you're allowed to talk about work and when we actually should disconnect? And,
Oh my gosh.
15,
That's so
well,
fun. Like, I get the same thing. Like, basically, my wife does UI UX for us, and it's one of those that I will be completely mentally like melted. My brain doesn't. I have enough. Brain juice to like brush my teeth, and I'm just about to crash into bed. And she goes, "You know what we could do? If you when you click the modal and it pops up, like if you just had this little," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta save it till tomorrow." But like
yeah,
we're both
you're
like
right,
just
but I can't think
always
about it.
like it.
Yep.
We're always like in it. But it's really interesting to have that sort of like you're both solving that problem together. Also, you got married and you're both
Yep.
co-founders of a startup. So you're like, nobody has money for a while.
Exactly. It's pure chaos.
That's great. I love it. Well, it's amazing you found product market fit. Oh, well, I imagine you've seen this problem for a little while and you've been able to sort of
I
identify
had the
really quickly.
problem. Exactly.
Yeah.
I made the problem worse at Apple. So it was, coming out of Apple, again, Apple things are confidential, but I came up with my LinkedIn profile. I'd made a lot of friends on LinkedIn. So, oh yeah, well, turns out so-and-so actually needs this. So let's go chat.
Nice. That's amazing. So did Jesse also Jesse too? Was
Yeah.
he in the same but moonlighting? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So he was at Microsoft until the very end of 2012. So early 2013, he said, okay, let's do it. That's it. We've proven it. So 2012, yeah, again, we didn't really start until March-ish. And then, yeah, through that year, got married, did the beach house. And then, yeah, he was working nights and weekends to make sure the technology was there, the infrastructure was there to push it forward. But yeah, it became pretty obvious, especially as we came into the holidays, there's really something here. We should go full on. So he left I think he was at Microsoft just right about 10 years. So he was kind of at that crucial threshold as well. Am I really going to ditch a great job for a startup?
Totally.
And yeah,
Well, the golden handcuffs are can be rough.
very
I
real,
know people
especially, yeah,
that
once
are.
Microsoft stock and Apple stock. Yeah, those were hard to say goodbye
Oh,
to.
totally. Being at one of the big FANG companies and being like, "Oh my gosh, everything's taken care of. I've got like I know that retirement's gonna be good," like
Yeah.
that's a big decision. Well, it's what's interesting, I think like so during that period, when you think about zero like the idea of this podcast being zero to and sort
Mhm.
of where I feel like I am, which is I don't know what one is yet. Maybe I'll feel it when I'm there. Did you all have any of those sort of one moments where you felt like it sort of went from startup idea with a little bit of product market fit to like, oh, like you woke up one day and you went like, oh, this is a company. I can see it going and growing and like I'm not as worried as much as, sort of holding it together with band-aids and staples kind of thing.
So this is a reference to Peter Thiel's book, right? Zero to One, right? That whole concept of, yeah. So no, that came later in a weird way, and it's maybe not the whole zero to one, paradigm exactly, but I had the problem. I knew it was a legit problem. I knew other people had the problem. Going to Apple, I saw us making that problem worse, so I was able to kind of validate it from the other direction. So when we first started, no, we felt like we are very much on one. But it kept feeling like this opportunity wasn't an indefinite thing. Like the problems that we solve can be solved at the source quite quickly, but they never really are. So we kind of kept having this existential crisis of all this work we're doing, is it just going to disappear tomorrow because we're solving a problem? You know, that whole platform risk, you know, it's, we're deep in it, we're making this better, but again, they can solve it. And we've just learned, you know, after time that they don't care about solving it. They care about much bigger things. That this is, again, still a huge opportunity, but it's not, may not be $1 billion problem, which I'm okay with. So we've had these kind of challenges where the landscape shifts, or we're, you know, concerned about it, or, you know, Amazon tried to solve it and actually failed pretty miserably at it. So that's that. A product market fit, no, but kind of 1 to 2 or 1 to 10 has been a very rocky journey. Again, yeah, we've been in this for quite some time. We're a bootstrap company. We've been able to survive, but we've had some nearly cataclysmic moments where, you know, within a day, a week, an email, you know, 30, 40, 50% of our revenue disappears, or one of the largest companies in the world lets you know that they're going to compete with you, or, yeah, there's been some big things. So it's not, yeah, 0 to 1, not so much. 1 to whatever we're at. Ooh, that's there's some stories in there.
What, you got to give me one. Now I'm all on the edge of my seat. What's, as much as you can tell, like what was
Yeah.
one of those, you were waiting on an email, you got an email, you got a phone call, and you were like, are we, do I need to go back into doing guide or tours, or
Exactly.
like,
We're
what
going
was the
we're going
thing?
back to the river. Exactly. Um,
Totally.
so yeah, there's 4 that have happened, 4 events that have happened because of other companies, and 1 that's kind of self-inflicted. Um, the first one was, you know, Apple, we solved 2 fundamental problems. We solved this user experience challenge. We solved this monetization challenge, right? So big step back. Geniuslink has various different features, but one of the core things we do is we allow one link to work worldwide. And we initially built that for the iTunes ecosystem. So when Adele or U2 or Tom Petty, you know, tweets out a link, everyone around the world can click on that single link and get to, you know, the song in iTunes for them to buy. When that's the user experience. On the monetization side, Apple's, well, the iTunes affiliate program was really 4 different affiliate networks. Some people manage the US side, some people manage Europe side, some people manage Australia, some people manage Japan. And again, for that link to work worldwide is one piece, but for you as the creator, and again, maybe you're not a you know, massive record label or recording artist, but you're a you know, starving artist that's written a book, you know, that money can be really important, but, you know, kind of cobbling that together was the other side that we made much easier. Well, Apple, after I left, saw a technology solution from another third party. It was kind of the first real affiliate network that could operate worldwide. So that user experience challenge was still there, but the monetization challenge could now be cleaned up because there's one tracking ID that would work worldwide. So we're, you know, 6 months, 8 months into hitting this full time, and one of our biggest revenue opportunities, you know, tells us in confidence that things are going to change. Be ready for this a year from now. And that was okay. Well, what do we do? Amazon was the next op, but still, it took us some time to build the Amazon thing. Our 2 largest clients were ad networks for mobile traffic, because there was such, at that point, there was such opportunity to go from a free version of the app to a paid version. The in-app purchase piece really hadn't been developed. So Apple announces this. We knew it was coming, but it still sucked when, you know, we lost about 80% of revenue that day. You know, they knew it was coming too. They didn't have a need for us. We pulled out. And I don't blame them one bit. It's just, it's again, that whole platform risk, being too focused on one ecosystem, you know, diversified. It did allow us to kind of jumpstart on the Amazon side, but that was one of those where, uh, so yeah, that's, yeah, I got some more stories, but I'm not sure where the NDA expires on some of those.
And so, no, but that's so interesting thinking about, I mean, obviously this is part of it, right? Is you leave the dream job and you sort of go a hole up and start writing business plans and start putting things into it, and then 6, 8 months into it, you're gonna get there's a message or an email or a call or something that
The landscape
says
shifts.
most of your business will be, either irrelevant or will go away or whatever. And that entrepreneur's mindset of, one, going through those a couple of times, but then also from a CEO and entrepreneur's mindset of figuring out where the pivots are and what leverage you have or what you can do or where to put things, where to put focus or, whatever. So I'm sure, you've gained so much experience, like going through a number of those,
Well,
almost on the precipice kind of things.
you've heard the negative side of it, right? And lose all this revenue sucks, but there's one of our three core values is make lemonade. And we've
Nice.
been very fortunate to have a great team that has, I think, become a great team and really gelled as a team, is because we end up in the trenches together. And it's nice to be proactive all the time, but being reactive and the camaraderie and ability to really just become this one entity that can operate so amazingly is forced when there's a lot of pressure, a lot of outside, and some people crack, and it's a bummer, and you say goodbye. But these situations have allowed us, I think, to execute better now than would have ever happened if we hadn't had such a rocky path. So again, we got dealt some pretty big lemons, and man, we made some very tasty lemonade. Didn't quite appreciate it until after the fact, but yeah, it's been again, it would have been nice if we hadn't had to go through it, but it's, I think, also a very key piece of who I am and who the company is having exactly as you said, the landscape shifts, these things happen. So you can bitch about it or you can do something about it.
I love it. It's interesting you brought up the team. I'd love to know, like, what were the initial sort of culture values, and how did you start to build the team from, obviously you knew your co-founder, and then Jesse, so you've got this tight knit group, how did the team and the culture grow, and second part to that, is it local, or have you been distributed or somewhere in the middle?
Yeah. So culture is such an important question. Again, you asked how, at the very beginning of the call, how I've been, it's the beginning of the year. We've done some tweaks on our mission, vision, value. We use the EOS system, a bastardized version of the EOS system. So our VTO, our vision traction organizer, talk about our core focus, core values, etc. That had been kind of updated in the last year. And it was really time to get that in front of the team. So this core value stuff has been something that's been on top of my mind quite a bit. Um, the original team, again, it was the two people that I loved and trusted the most, my best friend from growing up and my fiance slash wife. So we worked very well together as a team. And, as we slowly grew, it was a lot of friends and family, the people that I trusted the most that would, dive in and work with us. My sister-in-law worked for us. My brother worked for us. Our co-founder's mom still keeps our books. His cousin still helps us with infrastructure. It was very tight knit group, and I think it's. I guess you're not supposed to say it, but it was very much family. Like we treated everyone. You know, it wasn't be friendly, but not whatever. We were straight up. Yeah, we hung out together. We mountain bike together. We had adventures together. We were an incredibly tight knit organization. And learned some hard things. Right? It's hard having a hard conversation. It's even harder having a conversation with someone you love, and just it creates some interesting dynamics. But we've tried to keep that ethos, continuing on. So that the core values have definitely evolved. I really didn't even know what core values were until 4, 5, 6 years into it. Was part of this EO Entrepreneurs Organization has this accelerator program. So that was kind of the first time I was indoctrinated to. Oh, are you supposed to write those things down? Oh, that's actually, and it's become so much more apparent as we've slowly grown and the team is grown as well. But it's been a journey. I'm pretty happy with where we're at today. But we also, threw out two of the three core values, less than a year ago. They were good, but they weren't perfect. So they will continue to, codifying it was hard. You know what it is in your heart, but how do you say that in a couple of words, and what does that really mean? And when you say those words to someone that's never heard them before, did they get the right feelings as well? But yeah, it turns out that stuff is important to work on.
No, and I love that because I think when you first start and you're a scrappy startup team, and I know there's those like phases of growth where it's super apparent. When I went to work at Sprinkler, I think there was 120 people at the company. 2 years later, we had done a number of acquisitions, but also a ton of hiring. And 2 years later, it was 1,200 people. And
So
so, like,
crazy.
going from 120 to 1,200, but even going from 3 to 10, like in that first little bit, usually you're hiring people that like the energy, the ambition, that learner's mindset of needing to sort of like build things and iterate, and you get people that are similar. It's easy to sort of have a very sort of homogeneous culture in that little, but as soon as you start hitting, I think I've heard 30 is like one of these things where it starts to like you can't keep track of everyone and not everyone sort
Yeah.
of is in the mix, and and people start saying I wasn't in that meeting or whatever. It starts getting to that place. I can imagine, that you've got to have those things, both documented and indoctrinated. Maybe that sounds cultish, but like you've got to have those sort of
Yeah.
things indoctrinated in the core group, and then as you expand, so that it gets passed down in the right way as you
Yeah.
grow.
Exactly. No, I think cultish might be a bit of extreme, but no, I'm pouring Kool-Aid for the team, right? This is how I think about things. This is how we've thought about things for a while. I think we're going to work best if we believe in X, Y, and Z, and we operate in X, Y, and Z. That it's a filtering mechanism for who does belong here, as a team member or a contractor, consultant, or people we work with, but also a filtering mechanism for ideas as well, right? Does this idea does this possible direction for the company, is that for or against our core values? And it may be worth a ton of money, but that ton of money is probably gonna come with a ton of headache if it doesn't fit relatively well within the core values and the short midterm. So we've learned these lessons the hard way. We've made some interesting hires. We've fired much slower than we should have when it was pretty obvious. But knock on wood, I'm slowly figuring out what it means to lead a small company.
That's great. You feel like you've from a founder and a CEO perspective, you feel like you've hit your groove, like like a good solid, like just like you said, sort of vision experience, being able to feel like you're settled in the saddle a little bit.
I am more settled than I ever have been before, but I have such a
Awesome.
long ways to go. I think a pretty reluctant leader. Left to my own devices, I become I'm a tinker, right? I'm a dreamer. Um, and yeah, and then I've been fascinated kind of with the biz dev and sales side. But as the team is going, we doubled last year, right? So we're a team of 25 now. Um, and it's thank you. It's forcing me to stop doing the things that I've appreciated doing and loved doing before, but actually focus in on that leadership piece. And I've brought in some awesome resources, but I very much have a long ways to go to really feel comfortable as a leader. And maybe that's okay. Maybe being uncomfortable with the leader is forcing me to level up more quickly instead of resting on my laurels. Not that I have any, but yeah, it's been an interesting journey. It's one that I've really started to pay attention to in the last 6-12 months. And I'm starting to really appreciate it. It's hard work and it's very different work. And we've got annual reviews coming right up, and I'm for the first time actually getting kind of excited about doing those. Where in the past it was always frustration because I just wanted to push harder on product or push harder on sales or whatever.
That's awesome. Um, where do you see Geniuslink going in the next? I know 5 years inspired, 2 years.
We I see a lot of things happening, right? Again, I'm a bit of a dreamer. My team has learned that I need a filtering mechanism before I whiplash the team left and right. So, but in general, we see a lot of different pieces coming together, right? We see the creator economy continue to take hold. We see influencers being a very important part of that. We continue to see Amazon as a dominant force in retail, but not the only force as well. So there's a handful of threads that I really would like to weave together. We've got this background around the localization. It's important that one link works no matter where you are in the world, right? If you're in Italy, you want to, be able to buy in euros and transact in Italian. That same link should work for someone in Japan or someone in Egypt as well. So that localization is kind of a key piece. Again, Amazon being such a dominant force in retail, they're still amazing, but we're still seeing, approximately 60% of e-commerce happens outside of Amazon's ecosystem. So making sure that this whole multi-retailer model works well too, so that, if you are in Italy, you have Amazon.it as an option, but there's probably 3 or 4 other retailers that you may love, appreciate, or around the corner you can do curbside pickup. How much easier? So localization and multi-retailer are 2 pieces that are very fundamental on what we've done so far, but where we continue to see more and more opportunities. Um, a links are the glue of the internet, right? HTML, hypertext markup language, HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol. hypertext is just code for a link. Links hold the internet together. That glue is so essential. And we've seen success in other places, but we also continue to see walled gardens, come up more and more. But being able to kind of merge those together, we see as an incredibly valuable piece. So there's work to be done there of, solidifying how important and how strong, how sticky a link can be, that we're also looking at as well. So where we're going, hopefully, helping more creators, turn their passion into a livelihood, helping more links not end at 404s, helping more people be able to, transact in a way that's familiar and easy for them. And exactly what those little pieces are, I've learned, is not my responsibility anymore. We've got great people on the product team that are going to figure that out. It's really hard for me not to have, that perfect answer, because that's been my, purview for the last 10 years. But as a leader, I need to empower them to let their creative juices, because they're the experts and they'll have a better answer than I can. I see the big trends, I see the big ideas, but they know the specifics.
Oh, my team knows too. Anything that starts with, you know what I was thinking?
Exactly. Take
And I'm
Kyle,
sure they're
put him
going,
in a room,
I don't
let
want
him
to
talk
know.
to
I
himself,
don't
and then exactly.
put it in this vault, put it in the jar, and we're gonna.
Yeah.
Well, you and I have the same vision. I think everything is what I like to say is like look around your desk, look around your room, and name one thing that just doesn't originate, or that you can't get from a link. Your life is links, and so being able to, I love how sort of symbiotic, you want to make sure that those links work everywhere and they get to the right destination, and that sort of that pipe works, as intended. I think for me it is the saving in the organization, when it's so frustrating to be able to have something that you consider one of your favorite things, which, by the way, if you haven't seen this, it's a Leica, and you take as many camera photos as you want because it's digital, but when you're ready, you pull the thing and the Polaroid comes out,
Brilliant. Okay.
right? So here's the thing, but how do I get this to you?
Right.
Give me a minute. And then I have to sort of like, it was in my purchase history. No, maybe in Gmail, or like, no, did Bonnie text
Was it
that
B&H or
you
was it
can't get
Amazon
to
or
it.
yeah?
Right,
Mhm.
it's just in the ether, and that seems so
Mhm.
weird to me that you can't just have control and organization of your links, not just because of the links themselves, I love the organization of it all, but also because when I see something, I don't wanna share it with somebody, that it's like, "Oh, yeah, that thing, send," like, and it's off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I think what's amazing with what we're talking about from a Geniuslink perspective is when I do send that off, what if that's also an affiliate link that I end up getting paid, because I referred that person to
Uh,
that thing, or
and
I
you
have it on
deserve to
a
be.
profile.
Exactly. Exactly. No,
Yeah,
our visions, that Venn diagram. Yeah, there's definitely some real overlap. We're looking. Yeah, we're seeing the same opportunities,
I love it.
the same challenges. Yeah, exactly. Love it too.
Amazing. Well, this was so fun. Thank you for the time, and
Thank you for the opportunity.
thank
Thank you for
you.
the conversation. These are always fun.
No, and thank you for making it. No, adventurous isn't the right word, but I love all our technical challenges because they feel like startup, uh, entrepreneurial mode, right? You're just gonna have shit happen. Your camera's gonna fall over, and your mic's not gonna work, and you know what you got to do? You got to just like, let's go do it.
So I want to finish with just, yeah, you said adventure isn't the right word. I would argue adventure
Mm,
is exactly the word. So back to my raft guiding days, bad things would happen, right? People would get hurt, they'd stub their toes or whatever. And that crisis management was an interesting part of it. But what I noticed is that when you frame it as an adventure, it doesn't
mhm.
matter how scary or how what you reflect on it in a positive attitude. So back to
Yeah.
your point here, we will have some, I'm sure, deep emotional scars from our entrepreneurship journeys of the crazy things that happen. But when we frame it as an adventure, I think it allows us to compartmentalize the bad, appreciate the good, but be able to move all of it forward and have that clean story of this was an adventure, good, bad, and ugly. It was an adventure, and I'm proud of that adventure. I love that adventure.
Amazing. Well, I'm also excited to be on co-ventures with you, your team and our team,
Absolutely.
and we love the Geniuslink team, and we need to do. I don't know. We got to match up event schedules. Again, we got to figure out our next like insanely delicious restaurant pick.
I love it.
Oh, I know what we're gonna
Yeah.
do. We're coming out with collaborative stacks soon. What we're gonna do is we're gonna have
Oh,
Kyle and
wow.
Jesse's. We're gonna have Kyle and Jesse's best eats stack, and you and I are gonna be editors. Everyone else are viewers. We can put them on our profiles, and then I'm gonna find that one that we went to, Gary V's, and we're gonna put it on it, and then we're
Yep.
gonna start collecting our best eats in our stack, and then we can share it.
I love it. I love it.
Let's do it.
Awesome. No, you guys,
Amazing.
the technology you're building is so cool. So I'm excited to, yeah, keep hearing about these little bits and pieces that are being innovated and added to it. So keep up the great work.
Appreciate it. We'll hang out for a second. We'll catch up.
Sounds
And
good.
thanks so much for coming on.
Absolutely.